Welcome back to the Fantasy Faire, people. This is the most magical podcast on earth. I'm filling in for Kyle today for the Fantasy Faire podcast. I'm Alexis J. Soto. I'm joined by Moreno. Alexis Moreno. I'm sorry, I'm not used to opening up the podcast with that kind of... Okay. Yeah, Alexis, how are you doing on this wonderful coronavirus Monday?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm okay. I'm okay. It was just I'm not used to opening up Fantasy Faire podcasts. It's different. I feel maybe you should be doing it. I don't know why you don't do it, but
oh no.
It really should be you.
You guys are good at it.
Okay. So welcome everyone. I'm hopeful that you're having a good week. I think for all things considered, Alexis and I are having a pretty good week so far. Kyle couldn't be here tonight because he is an essential worker, and it's fair to say they are kicking his ass in terms of like I think he's worked for like almost 4 or 5 days in a row now, so it's pretty bad out there at the moment. And I also just want to bring attention to this because I think it's important when people decide to be humanitarian. I know we just talked about this, but Alexis, you took time out of your day to prepare some fabric to make some masks. Talk about that situation.
Well, I'm gonna start working, luckily. So my mom is the only one that doesn't work, so me, my brother, and my dad work. And we like try to be as like cautious as possible. And so we have masks, but we only have like one each, which you can wash and stuff. So my mom said that we should maybe make some more, have like one each day, right, and stuff. But then she decided, why don't we make some for the whole family? And I was like, okay. So she got more fabric, and then she's like, oh, why don't you give some to your coworkers and your friends? So I was like, okay. And then later on decided that we should just make some, and then whatever we have left over to donate. So we have a lot. Like, I'm not excited for tomorrow, because tomorrow is when we're going to start ironing.
But it gives you something to do.
Yeah. Like, it's a ton. Like, I think we counted one fabric, which was like the smallest one that we had, and it was gonna be about 24 masks.
Okay.
And like I said, that was the smallest piece of fabric that we had. The rest were significantly bigger.
Okay.
I want to say we have over 100 pieces. So yay!
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of excited, like, to donate. Like, I feel like that's gonna be kind of cool. But yeah.
And may the force be with you with your new place of employment. Yeah, it's you need probably like 5 masks on, based on the stories that I have heard. And also to give a shout out to your brother David Francisco, who is on many programs on this podcast feed, who is also an essential worker, working every single day. So good on him for that. And as far as today is concerned with this podcast, this is going to be Clone Wars themed. And I'm pretty sure that's about it. Maybe we'll get into like a more Star Wars discussion, because there were some announcements today on Disney Plus about what other Star Wars programming is going to be launching May 4th for May the 4th, Star Wars Day. Along like that being they're going to drop Rise of Skywalker. Okay. And they're also going to drop a Mandalorian documentary series on that day alongside the series finale of what's really the main event. So, I mean, they can move aside, but that's what's really the main event of that day.
Yeah, it really is.
And like, oh my God, we're a week from the recording of this like podcast. We're like 1 week away from seeing it. And, we'll talk about right now the episode we already discussed. Did you ever get a chance to talk about Old Friends Not Forgotten, the first part of the episode?
Mm-mm.
Well, I guess we have to mention that. And then we'll go ahead and have a review of the Phantom Menace, the Phantom Apprentice, which is the second part of the Siege of Mandalore movie, basically.
Yeah.
And
we actually did start, like, when the first episode came out for this season, me and Kyle recorded an episode.
Yeah.
But, I mean, one, like, it just kind of didn't continue, but, like, I also just didn't really like the other episodes.
You're not alone in that. I would assume most Star Wars fans feel the same way about that situation.
So that's why that didn't happen. But, like, not what's it called, the first part 1. I think that's when it started.
Well, that's when it felt back.
We're here. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and start off there then. Old Friends Not Forgotten, which was the first part of the Siege of Mandalore. I know I've already given my thoughts on it, but I just want to recap of what I feel. It is maybe the single most moving piece of animation coming out of Lucasfilm animation ever. And that's a pretty high bar because they've given us a lot of great stories between Clone Wars and Rebels, especially some emotional highs. But this was an experience. This was a gift. This was something that, for us hardened Clone Wars fans who were so disheartened to not have had a proper conclusion to the series, this was something that was only a whisper of a dream, never daring to actually think it could actually materialize and happen. And I think maybe, to me, one of the most moving pieces of Star Wars I've ever seen. And that's saying a lot because, I think most of Star Wars is pretty moving. I think there really are a lot of things you can say about how emotional it was, how good it was, as far as all the little intricacies of what was going on with the episode. But it reminded you why you fell in love with this show in the first place. Really. Oh, yeah.
It totally did. Like I said, like, not that the other episodes were, like, bad, but it just... They were truly, like, throwaway episodes. Like, there was some moments in some of it. Like, the first one, I liked the first one. The Ahsoka stuff, yeah. Like, there's that one moment in, like, one of the episodes where, Ahsoka is, like, on the ship with the 2 girls and they're, like, flying away. And, like that stuff is, like, cool and stuff. But, like, yeah, like, that episode was just, like I said, we're in it. Like, we're here.
Yeah, it almost just, like, you almost would be forgiven to forget how good the show could be because of the previous 8 episodes, which, I mean, to mention it there, this is one of the things, I remember we talked about this on the D23 show. I think that's an infamous podcast for Fantasy Faire because that, without question, was, I think, the single most negative podcast as far as Fantasy Faire. You weren't there. It was, I think, with me and Peter, which maybe that should tell you why it was so negative. And the whole episode was Kyle just, like, listing off all of the announcements that came out of D23. And then me and Peter just shitting on it entirely. We got to Clone Wars. Like, to me, it's always been kind of like what we ended up getting with the first 8 episodes, and even with the season as a whole, it wasn't a surprise. I just expected it because really the thing that I really wanted to see was the conclusion, which was the Siege of Mandalore. Although we've discussed many times that there were other huge story arcs that they were planning, but we didn't get to see. Things like the Son of Dathomir comic, which was based off 4 unproduced episodes. There was Star Wars Audio Comics, a YouTube channel that, kind of brought that to life as an audio drama. I had you listen to it, Alexis. What did you think of that?
Yeah, it was really good. It was really good.
And how amazing would it have been to have seen that material like in full animation? Is it had like, you know, it basically had Mother Talzin and Maul like try and enact their revenge on Sidious by taking him out of the game. They had Maul capturing Dooku and Grievous. There was a lot of like lightsaber duels that people love about, you know, this show. It was basically just it was a villains movie, which was really interesting.
Yeah. Which we don't like get to see a lot of, which is like,
it was
really
exclusive
cool.
villain content, which was I think the key.
It
here.
really was. Yeah.
Like there was like there was like I think an appearance by Obi-Wan and Windu, but like that was like very, very brief. So yeah. And that was when that comic was released, I think, in the aftermath of the Clone Wars getting canceled. It is, of course, canon, and so it is, you know, part of the stories that we're seeing here. But like, I think every single Star Wars fan, especially Clone Wars fan, would like remove any of those 8 episodes with this in a heartbeat. There's also the Dark Disciple novel with Asajj Ventress and Quinlan Vos. That was based off 8, not just 4, 8 unproduced episodes. It was a huge, massive 8-episode arc. These episodes that were written by Katie Lucas, George's daughter. Katie had done great work on the show before writing for Asajj Ventress in particular. That story to me, I think that may be my favorite story of the Clone Wars, and it's a book, not the show. And it is because it's not just like, you know, a Ventress like standalone like thing. Like her story and her like conclusion of her arc as a character came full circle, and it was tied directly with the failing of the Jedi Order and the Jedi Council. It was kind of like this big commentary of like sacrifice and like the feudal sacrifice of this entire thing. It was based off the Jedi Council making a very controversial decision amongst themselves outside of the Republic to get one of their own, Quinlan Vos, to go undercover, get the help of Asajj Ventress to go and assassinate Count Dooku. And there were like amazing sequences with like Ventress not aware that he was a Jedi, but that he could use the Force. And so she was training him how to use the dark side so that they could beat Dooku. And then those two form like, and it's a complicated relationship. Like Ventress ended up being revealed to have killed Quinlan Vos's old master in the early days of the Clone Wars. They formed like a...
I love her. Like, she's such a great character.
Yeah.
I love her.
Yeah. There was a whole like romantic entanglement even with her and Vos. It was very romantic, the novel, and it was it showed a Ventress to actually get to be happy for a change. It was a beautiful, beautiful story, and if I would definitely encourage all of you to go and, you know, get the audiobook if you want, or the novel. Dark Disciple is an amazing story for the Clone Wars. Probably my favorite episode, my favorite like story of the Clone Wars. And at some point, I don't know if they'll do like mini like offshoots or like standalone like animated movies. I would think that, you know, the Clone Wars is very popular right now on Disney Plus, that they could do like, well, they already have these stories. They can do like some of these like, you know, animated movies for more content. I'm sure that would get some traffic on there. People are saying that they could do that. So yeah, there's a lot of material. There was even like arcs with Cad Bane and Boba Fett. We're going to have like an adventure together, which are some of the most like signature characters of the Clone Wars. There was a whole arc where which featured the Bad Batch team that we saw earlier. They were going to go with Master Yoda to Kashyyyk, the planet of the Wookiees. And Yoda was going to like, I think he was going to fully learn how to manifest his consciousness into a Force ghost. So it was like a lot of stuff, really, really interesting stuff that was left on the table. But ultimately, while I would have rather, I think everyone's in agreement, we would have preferred those stories to have like been realized. The reality is Disney probably only gave him 12 episodes to do it. And Filoni, his justification for the episodes that we got was that it really was to close off the main characters, the most main characters of the show, which was Captain Rex and Ahsoka. And you have an arc with Rex and you have an arc with Ahsoka, and like the two come together for the finale of the entire series. Which I understand that viewpoint. But I also do think, though, that the lackluster response to those first 8 episodes was all but like expected. I saw that coming like a year away, as I said last episode with D23. So that's why like I didn't make a big deal out of it coming back.
Yeah. No, I also think just like it would have been too much, because that's how like all the other seasons are. Like there's like half of the episodes are like very exciting, the other half are like they're pretty cool, but they are like throwaway episodes, which I don't mind. But like this is such like a short season. Adding all of those stories would have, I mean, right now we're like all like freaking out about these last 4. Like it just would have been way too much. So yeah, it's just it's good that he chose like one story.
And even though the 8 episodes prior were, they were okay to all right. There were some moments, and there's some where there was. I mean, the animation is stunning. But I don't think anybody's gonna care after. Well, clearly after what we're getting right now, which is like the main event.
Yes.
The absolute main event, and I mean, there was just so many wonderful moments to name from. I mean, that whole sequence with I don't even know where to start. That's how, like, I mean, the whole thing just, of course, the atmosphere feels like a film. The music by Kevin Kiner is the best that it ever has been. That's the wonderful themes from the entire collection of Star Wars that he's pulling from is just extraordinary to how wonderful it all sounds, to the character moments. I think in the many reaction videos that I've seen, the moment that everybody gets teared up is when Ahsoka sees the clones have all like painted their helmets in honor of her.
A bit of water tears. It was a lot. Like, no, I think the moment that got me, I mean, yeah, like obviously, yeah, that moment, but like, I think when Anakin saw her, like when she's turning around and he's just like in full shock. Like he doesn't even know what to say. Like he's just at a loss for words. And it just in like those 2-3 seconds of him just being like, what's going on? Like you can instantly tell just like how much she means to him. And that breaks my heart. Like, and also, like I saw a tweet that like the thought of like Order 66 happening and the turn, with all of these episodes, like always in the back of your head, it just makes this like so much worse, but like in a good way. Like, I mean, I don't even know if it's in a good way. It makes me really emotional. No, like the other day, I watched episode 3. I couldn't watch it. I like stopped it like right before. Yeah, I stopped it and I was like, "Oh no, this is too much. I can't."
It's just, I think it was just in a way it is the finale, but it also just was a special homecoming. To get its final hurrah. The final exchange between Anakin and Ahsoka, as Anakin's about to walk away, where she says good luck to him.
Yeah.
With the music swelling up and just like the tenderness of the moment, and I mean, knowing what's to come just makes that so bittersweet and so emotional, considering how far those two have come.
It's kind of like what, like, you kind of want to scream at the TV and be like, convince him, talk to him, make him stay, like, do something.
I know. But there were also some interesting moments that just made this, more than just that, as far, even in the dialogue itself. Like, there was just so much going on in terms of, like, not in the sense of like paying things off, but like earned moments, like the situation where Bo-Katan was like so pissed off at Kenobi, like, and it said so much. It said so much of what happened there, where she was like, I thought Satine meant something to you.
Oh, yeah.
And like, ooh, God, I could feel it from my...
And you know that he felt it too.
Oh my God,
like,
yes.
He felt it too, because he was like, bruh.
And I think Obi-Wan Kenobi is, you know, the thing about him is like what differentiates him from the other Jedi Council members is that he really is just doing what he thinks is right and what being a good Jedi is. I think you can make the comment that the other Jedi Council members, Yoda not included, don't necessarily live by that, and they really are much more they prioritize, I think, being politically correct in a lot of ways, and like in making sure like the political motivations I think are much more prevalent with them than they are with Obi-Wan, though Obi-Wan still thinks ultimately that as an institution the council decides what's best, because he has believed in the idea that a Jedi should not act on their feelings, because feelings cloud their judgment, which is why he always tried to, you know, have a distance between him and Satine, even though how much he obviously loved her. And of course, she, I don't know, said how many times she always loved him. But what's interesting is when Obi-Wan says that, when he responds to Bo-Katan, the camera cuts to, it's almost weird, like we're talking about animation, because it almost feels like it's treated like live action, because you can tell how the camera makes certain like choices where it cuts to, because in that moment we cut to Anakin, and you see, and it lingers on Anakin's facial reaction to Obi-Wan giving that answer, and knowing what he's about to go through in the next few days, where he has that premonition of Padme, the person that he loves, possibly dying in childbirth. And he goes to the Jedi, he goes to Yoda for answers, for help as to how he can save Padme. And all they give him is, she's going to die and you need to be happy about it, basically was the answer that he was given. Yeah. And when you couple that answer with,
or just like everybody dies eventually type of thing.
Yeah, like the Jedi basically were not doing anything. I know, right? The Jedi were not gonna do anything about it. And then like you have to think in that moment when he's hearing in this episode, when he's hearing Obi-Wan give that answer, it's like to see how Obi-Wan was trying to justify not taking action to, you know, bring justice to Satine's murder. You have to think that Anakin just like thinking like, no, like how can you think this way? Like he already is at an odds with the council. Yeah. He always has been.
It also, like, watching the movie, it also makes sense why he doesn't go to Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Because he's like, well, if he didn't help, you know, if he didn't do this for Satine, like, there's no way that he's gonna do this for me, or, like, help me out.
Right.
You know? Or, yeah. So, dang, I didn't even think of that till right now.
No, there's a lot of things that you really have to, and I don't even think it's like, it's us projecting it. It's like, they're there for a purpose. Like the amount of different things that were put in here, like again, like we're talking about the camera angles, there were a lot of, with this in the next episode, there were a lot of really interesting callbacks to Last Jedi, which is curious. It's curious that, you know, because a lot of Star Wars fans, a lot of Clone Wars fans don't like Last Jedi at all, but there's a lot of Last Jedi like camera movements that are borrowed. But there are camera angles that are borrowed from Revenge of the Sith, even from Twilight of the Apprentice, like that. Oh my God, the last exchange between Ahsoka and Anakin in this movie mirrors the exact camera angles, mirror their reunion in Twilight of the Apprentice.
Yeah.
There's so much here that is just that's why it was kind of a lot to take in in just the first part. Imagine if we had the whole thing.
They just like throw you information.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like the second episode they throw you a lot more information that you have to pay attention.
Right.
But that first one I feel was more emotional and very like, bruh, like it's happening.
Yeah, and then of course there was a very, I feel, rightfully passionate response from Ahsoka. Like Ahsoka and Obi-Wan were really like clashing, and I really appreciated that moment because she never really got a chance to have her say as to like how she felt about what happened to her, because like here she is, Ahsoka, who is not a Jedi but is basically trying to be what a Jedi should be anyway, and trying to help out Bo-Katan and her people because they're being, ruled by a Sith Lord. People are suffering and everything. And the Jedi Council gets this information.
It does nothing about it.
And, like, they don't care.
Yeah.
They don't care. And that's why when, like, and then, of course, the whole alarm happens, episode 3, with Grievous going to Coruscant, all that is happening, kidnapping the Chancellor. And, like, Obi-Wan's answer, it's like, Coruscant is under attack. Like, that's the most important thing right now. We have to go save Coruscant. And she's like, you're not going to go save the people. You're going to go save the Chancellor. Like, the people who are going to be, like, killed in that are not your priority. And I think she even says the line, it's like, it sounds like the council is just playing politics as usual. I think she actually says those words, and it's like, I felt that. And I feel like that needed to be said. Again, for whatever reason, when it comes out of her mouth, it's justified, but when it comes out of Luke's mouth in episode 8, people like bitch and flip out, and like not my Luke, apparently.
Yeah, which does not even make sense. Like, yeah, no. I love that this, like, the main thing. I mean, not the main thing. Like, the main, like, callbacks that you see is Last Jedi, which I love. Like, it's literally a mix, like, a mash of, like, my 2 favorite Star Wars things.
Right,
so
right.
It's amazing. And, like, it's just so funny because people hate this movie.
I know.
And it's like, well, you can't anymore. Like... And if you say that you do, then you truly don't like this, because...
There's a lot of parallels. By the way, if you're interested, on our YouTube channel and, of course, on our Wooshka podcast feed and all of our podcast feeds, I and Alexis and David just did a recent Last Jedi audio commentary for those who want to hear. Of course, we also did one on Rise of Skywalker, although I guarantee you that's far more depressing than the Last Jedi one was. But you're so right, and they get even more overt in the Phantom Apprentice as far as the connections between that and Last Jedi, like very overt, like to a T. But to finish off this episode, one of the things that I didn't realize, but I should have, that it was pointed out on social media, is when we cut to that shot of the Republic cruisers arriving on Mandalore and the music swelling up, that's supposed to mirror exactly the beginning of episode 3. And I think literally the exact same music plays.
And that scene, oh my god, I love that scene where she's jumping, like, she's jumping everywhere, the fire behind her, and she just looks so cool. And I liked, like, I didn't really notice it the first time, but, like, in that part where her and Rex, they kind of race, she's the first one there, like, even the people in the jetpacks, and it's like, pfft, dude, it's so great. Like, I love it.
I mean, to say nothing, of course, of the animation, which looked stunning. I mean, better than it ever has for this show. But her, like, the sequence of her free falling to get to the surface, and her taking out, and she's taking out a lot of Mandos without killing them directly, if you notice. So that's an interesting little, but her having so much fun. It's like you kind of felt her come back to life. Like, part of her had been like so dead after, like, being basically kicked out of the Jedi Order. Outstanding. And by the time,
and watching like Maul's people, like, dude, they look so cool. Like, I think I like messaged you a picture and be like saying, wow.
Yeah, and like, again, if we had the the Son of Dathomir arc animated, we would have had like more exposure with that. But because we didn't get that, a lot of people are only just now seeing that armor for the first time. So like I think when you saw Old Friends Not Forgotten, you hadn't seen that armor because you didn't see Son of Dathomir beforehand, or at least read Son of Dathomir. But yeah, how they like basically the Supermandos that are loyal to Maul, the Maul loyalists, I guess you could say, basically repainted their armor to, you know, it was cool. Loved it.
It was so cool.
Loved it. And it looked amazing. And how it ends as well, you know, again, like a lot of things are beautifully syncing up to where Ahsoka, where Maul reveals himself to Ahsoka at the end of this episode, is evidently the exact same moment Count Dooku reveals himself to Anakin and Obi-Wan on board the Invisible Hand above Coruscant in the movie. So, because I guess we can now a little bit transition to the next episode to feed off on that moment, because while Maul is talking to Ahsoka, very displeased that, like, who the fuck is this person here? He's basically like, you know, Thanos and what's her name, Wanda. Well, like, I don't even know who you are. That Thanos anyway in Endgame. When he talks about when Ahsoka mentions to Maul that Obi-Wan had a more pressing engagement, and he's like, indeed, and then he pauses, and then he looks up, maybe almost like feeling, I wonder if the moment may be upon us. Like, I don't know, I just got the impression maybe he felt like a little trickle in the Force because maybe Count Dooku was just killed or about to be killed anyway at that moment. I think, because I mean, I watched this episode like many times already. Of course. But, like, I think the last time that I saw it, you had already mentioned that. And I think I kind of put that together too. Like, oh, I think he just died. Yeah. We should say though, before just to back up a little bit, before we get more into the Phantom Apprentice, can you talk about what happened? How we watched it? Yeah, what happened? Like 3 a.m. Okay. I don't think it was like, I think it was like 1. I think it was, I'm pretty sure it was 2. I can't. Okay, maybe 2. Yeah, because. But I remembered that the episode came on, and like I had asked David if he wanted to watch it with me, but he was already tired, so he went to bed. So I decided to watch it by myself because I couldn't wait. And literally, all that we just said happened in 1 minute, and I was already like, my heart was beating so fast, and I had to stop. And so I texted you, and I was like, "Are you awake?" And then you reply with, "You haven't seen it." And then I say, "Let's watch it together." And so we did. Which was really good, because I feel like I needed somebody to be there during this experience. Yeah, that was, I think I was about to watch it. And then, like, you sent that message. And so we watched it together. And you definitely made me feel more tense than I otherwise would have. So that was fun. Because, like, it's a moment. Because, like, we don't often, like, experience things together at the same time. And, you know, when this episode opened, there was, like, this really, like, eerie music building up. And I was like, oh, shit. Okay. What's going on here? And then, of course, the episode started, and like Maul began to talk, and I'm like, okay, where is this going? Yeah, literally in that 1 minute, you like look at me, and you were just like, oh, okay. And then it was also funny because we did talk about like the first episode together and stuff, and we came out with like things that might happen, and in that 1 minute, everything went out the window. It really did. And, you know, it's like good on them for still finding, you know, ways to surprise us, because ultimately we do know like the fates of like a lot of these characters. But yeah, it already, the episode was what it opened, and Maul was saying all these things, and there was one clarification I think we should make. He said deliberately in the entire episode, like he's dropping hints that he knows about Order 66. There may be, and we'll get a definitive answer in the coming episode, but there may be some kind of distinction to where like he's aware that the clones were created by Darth Sidious for the purpose of eliminating the Jedi and the Jedi Order and the Republic. However, there may be, I don't know, some indication that he's not entirely aware of the inhibitor chips, particularly because he says, or maybe he found out about it recently. I don't know really, because he says in the episode when he has the ARC Trooper Jesse hostage, he says that he played his part in the creation of this grand plan, and he specifically says that he wasn't aware of its grand design until recently. So like he's dropping a lot of hints throughout the whole episode that he knows particularly. But I think some people were saying like, well, why if Maul knew about the clones, why didn't he say something about that? And then some others were saying he knows that Palpatine is the Sith Lord. Why doesn't he just say that?
Does he though?
Some people, I feel like
I think that he knows.
Well, he has to, because like if Dooku knew, so did Maul have to, because I know that there's like a lot of like, maybe does Maul not know the face of Darth Sidious, but like remember in the Phantom Menace movie, Maul was on Coruscant with Darth Sidious, and then where would Maul know where to go? Like his whole plan was like to get Ahsoka to join him, and then that they were going to go and take out Darth Sidious.
I want to believe that he was still, I mean, maybe not. I think that he didn't say anything because
they wouldn't be believed either way, I feel.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was going to say. And I mean, look at what happened right now.
Yeah. I mean, wow.
And so I think that he needed to make a big statement or do it himself, or else it wasn't going to happen.
Well, it's like, and we were, of course, like reacting to this live, you know, for both you and I. And there came a point in the throne room scene where the fighting starts. And then I say, like, he's not going to win this. What's his plan? Like, the entire time, like, what is he, like, what's he really doing here? Like, what is it? What is he going to come of this? Because while the Mandalorians were putting a hell of a fight, the combined forces of the clones and the other Mandalorians would have eventually overwhelmed them. So I don't understand what exactly was the goal here. Yeah. And like the original plan, as he reveals, which I think was pretty amazing, and then also kind of just sad considering how Maul has just fallen from where he was. But like the original plan, as he says, is that the entire battle was orchestrated to draw in not just Kenobi, but more importantly Anakin, because he had this great vision, as they keep saying, to where he realized that Anakin Skywalker was going to be the next apprentice to Darth Sidious, and that his plan was to kill him. To not and like sad in the way, because like that's all Maul has left in any way to get revenge on Darth Sidious. Is like the best thing that I can do is like, I can't kill him, but I can try and kill his star pupil. You know, that's the best I can do. Yeah. And that's really what he wanted.
Do you think that he might have gotten, I mean, maybe he like already knew because he already knew about like the Clone Wars and stuff, but when in that episode where Anakin goes and he has like that sort of vision himself where like he kind of like sees Darth Vader, I can't really remember what exactly happened. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, you're talking about the Mortis episodes. He gets a vision by the sun about what will happen. Yeah.
Do you think that that's when Maul knew? I wanted, like, when that happened to Anakin, like, maybe somehow Maul felt something and he saw that?
No,
I want to say that.
I mean, I don't think that it's not that, because they say specifically in the episode that he didn't have that vision until like a few weeks ago. And that event you're referencing happened years
true.
prior.
Yeah.
So that really wouldn't have anything to do with it. Like, this was a vision that he had very recently and that he's been consumed with and he's been obsessed with, just to figure out what it is that he can do. And he's very scared.
Yeah.
This is very...
Yeah.
This is not a stable...
We have to go back, because I feel like we skipped a whole bunch of things.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
So, let's go back to,
Obi-Wan? Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, yeah, right after was Obi-Wan. That was nuts. That was... They know about Darth Sidious now. Mm-hmm. We know that at that moment, the Chancellor is dead.
No, that's
Obi-Wan...
Dooku's dead.
No, sorry, Dooku. Imagine.
No, that's in episode 9.
And that he's gonna go see Grievous. Mm-hmm. But they also mention that Anakin is supposed to watch out for the Chancellor or keep an eye on him.
Right.
And Ahsoka's reaction. Amazing.
Yeah.
One, because, again, it goes back to that whole, they care so much for each other.
Yeah.
And, she knows him. Mm-hmm. And she knows that this is, one, that it's not good, and that it's not good for him, and he's obviously gonna be, super upset about it, and not... Which is, really sad also, because I feel like he needs her, and Obi-Wan also knows that, and knows that she's the only one that can reach... Okay, this is, where I kind of get confused. Was Obi-Wan trying to tell Ahsoka to get Anakin to agree with it, or to have him not do it?
The thing is this, in regards to Obi-Wan, and I'm trying to recall, he specifically said to Anakin, I'm not asking you, the council is asking you. Mm-hmm. Which I think would indicate he wasn't really okay with that.
Yeah.
I mean,
in the movie, I saw that he wasn't okay with it either, because Anakin wasn't okay with it.
Of course. And so what he says to Ahsoka is, the council isn't always right. And really, I think he was just asking for her help. I think really what happened there is that he recognizes Anakin's better with her. And I don't think he was reaching out to her to make him change his mind as to how he feels. I think he was just basically asking for her to help him feel better. Because she does that. I think he was just basically... He was worried for him in this moment. Especially since he's not there. He's away from him now. Light years away, it seems like. So, Ahsoka reaching out to Anakin, I think would be good for him, because he'd have someone to vent. Because Ahsoka and Anakin are very much on the same... At least that's how I took it. Mm-hmm. Because as far as the whole Palpatine thing, from Ahsoka's perspective, it is kind of out of left field. Up until this moment, it would be really weird to suspect Palpatine on any level whatsoever. Especially since she knows how close Palpatine is with Anakin. Mm-hmm. And they've been close friends this the entire time. So she probably would be very skeptical at that. And also just the whole notion of Palpatine being a Sith Lord, and how could we not have sensed that? There's just a lot of things to it just doesn't sound feasible or believable in any way whatsoever. Mm-hmm. You know? And then the part where I'm not as sure of is when she's called away, and then she says to him, tell Anakin, and then he says, I will. Tell him what?
I think it was like tell him. Oh, not that she loves him, but just like she's there for him type of thing.
Oh, okay, that could be it too. I don't know if she was also saying that to give him the information that she just gave to Obi-Wan about the revelation of Darth Sidious. It's interesting because like Maul literally said Darth Sidious is he went more into detail after that initial like meeting with Obi-Wan. So I'm wondering that on her in next week's episode, not to get ahead of myself obviously, but just speculating.
Yeah.
I wonder like if on her way back to Coruscant she tries to contact somebody like, hey, Maul just like said some pretty like shady shit here.
That's what I'm saying. I think that she's gonna talk to Padme because also in the movie there is a moment where like Obi-Wan is the one that goes and tells Padme, but there is a moment where she is like she kind of starts believing it. So I think in that split moment, I think that's when she's gonna talk to Padme and she's gonna be like, oh, okay, maybe I should go.
Yeah, that would be interesting, right? Because she is kind of an important character to look to, and I think like I could see a scene where she tries to contact Anakin directly, like in the beginning of the next episode, but she gets Padme instead because Anakin's away, I think, or not there at the moment. So that could be something.
Yeah, because he's only at least in the house, like, or wherever they're staying.
The house.
Like he's hardly there. Like the only time I think that he's there is like when he goes and checks on Padme. But then he leaves to the lava place. I forgot the name.
It's interesting because like if you watch the movie, like you almost think that he lives with her full time, but he doesn't. I mean, he's supposed to live at the temple. Because like if he lived with her the entire time, I think that wouldn't be a secret.
Yeah,
I mean, that didn't make sense. So
yeah, like he's hardly ever there, at least in the movie, or like what we see in the movies.
Yeah.
So
even in the show, really, I think we only seen that apartment like 1 time, 2 times,
maybe.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the person that she's gonna talk to is gonna be Padme. Also because I think that she hasn't come out
at all.
Yeah, at least in like these episodes, and I feel like she kind of has like a big role to play in like the turning. So yeah.
Well, it's interesting too because at the same time, and she originally had a larger role in the movie, but a lot of those scenes were cut out. Is that at this all of this going on, what we just discussed with the end of the Clone War, Count Dooku dying. There is a storyline, and I think it still is canon because I mean, the later things are not considered canon, but it clearly Padme felt this way because she also expressed this at when she talks to Anakin, I think on Mustafar. She is so rattled by Palpatine refusing to end the fighting after Dooku being killed. And there was a whole subplot with her, Senator Mon Mothma, Bail Organa, and other people have like these secret meetings where they're like considering leaving the Republic. Like they're basically, I'm not even sure if like they join the Separatists per se, but like they're literally at the point where they've just given up on the Republic, and they're beginning to suspect Palpatine themselves as well, because what's going on here? Like when you start to really think about it, the war keeps going on. Count Dooku's dead. Why should we keep fighting? And the thing, really, when you think about it, why is there even a war to begin with? Because we know because the Sith are orchestrating all of this, and they have Dooku as the leader of the Separatists. But without Dooku and Grievous, like the Separatists can just like be on their own, and like they can just like, if they were up to Padme, they could just diplomatically end the war and there'd be no more fighting.
Yeah. No, and she does mention that in the movie also.
Right.
When Anakin is kind of confessing, like, that he doesn't really agree with what the Jedi Council is doing, and she's like, I forgot.
She says,
like, exactly.
"Have you considered we're fighting on the wrong side?"
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. There you go.
Yeah. So there's a lot that goes on with Padme there too. Like,
yeah. So
coming soon, Padme, a Star Wars story.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be mad.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's very interesting. And watch, it's gonna happen again. Everything that we're just saying is gonna go out the window.
Well, the scary thing is, like, there's next to no images or footage for the next 2 episodes. Like, all the stuff that we've seen in the promotional material, the trailers, we've seen it already. So they're gonna kick our asses as far as, like, these next 2 weeks. This episode, though, God, that throne room scene.
Yeah. Wait, we skipped the part.
We did? What did we skip?
Bo-Katan and...
Gar Saxon.
Yeah. That was really cool. That music in that scene was so good.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Skywalker moment, too.
Oh, yeah. That was really cool. Yeah, I love it.
No, it's great. And then, of course, other details. As you know, Dave Filoni is a master of, like, referencing literally everything else in Star Wars. So, like, even Solo, a Star Wars story, gets a mention here with Paul Bettany's character, Dryden.
Oh, yeah.
Dryden Voss, whose name I only remember because I've seen other YouTubers. Oh, they know that name. I'm like, oh, okay. I never bothered to know the name because I forgot about that character or that movie.
Yeah. But, and we also get a... well, not the first one, but, like, a little subtle... Not subtle, either. We get, like, Maul doing the mind thing, how Kylo Ren did.
Absolutely, yeah. That's exactly what that was referencing to. So you see all the things, and he's like, he's getting the final preparations ready, telling the syndicate leaders to go into hiding, which was interesting because, you know, in reality, this is a funny headline I saw, I think, over the weekend that says Trump goes into hiding after he made, like, that bleach comment.
Oh my God.
Like, I know. He was like, okay. Like, he canceled the daily White House briefings. He canceled his own show because, well, you know how that goes. Anyway, and then, of course, he rallies his Mandalorians. Of course, you could probably see it coming. He was about to basically, like, sacrifice them, which is what he did. He must have, like, found no use for them anymore. And it probably would have been hard to have maintained control of the planet anyway with the Empire about to come. So he was just kind of like cutting his losses. But, I mean, really, that whole speech, it really just shows you what a cunning, like, Sith Lord he could have been, really. Because he was very good. Like, to have gotten to this point where he basically controls a planet and a people, and, like, he has, like, a crime syndicate and all these armies behind him, it's pretty amazing. You never really thought he was capable of such things from, like, his very limited screen time in Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. And to where we are right now, in the speech that he gave to rally them up, again, like, there's a part of them, a lot of them stayed with him because they do recognize his strength and really admire his abilities. And the reason they've stayed loyal to him is because Maul knew, as always, like, their weakness is honor. Their weakness is, like, you know, thinking that there is honor in death. And he always takes advantage of that. And that's what he does to get them to get riled up, to basically go throw themselves as grenades to the clones as a distraction, ultimately, for his ultimate plan. And again, like, his plan was to get Anakin and kill him. But because this nobody, Ahsoka, I guess, to him, comes, like, he, like, gets a clone, the ARC Trooper Jesse, and he tries to find out who this person is. And so, like, when you think about where it ends up going in the throne room, and when he lays it all out, now that he knows about Ahsoka, it's kind of alarming how much they have in common and you didn't think of before. Like, those two.
Yeah.
Hello? Oh. There was a quick delay. I'm sorry. You said, what did you say?
Oh, no, I said yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
No, but yeah, like, it's like, they're exactly the same, but they're not. Mm-hmm. And that's really cool to see. Like, yeah.
It basically is. I mean, it was Last Jedi, Rey and Kylo Ren, mm-hmm. but with a different, like, sensibility to it.
Yeah. And it's very interesting. Like, both of these people, you know, they're the people that they trusted, the people that, you know, they looked up to, completely, like, cut them out. And but at the same time, they also don't realize that they don't believe what those people were saying in the end, and like they'd rather go out and do it themselves and actually be who they're trying to be. Mm-hmm. And here they are now.
I just have to gush about just the scenery. You know, let alone the story, but like one of the things that, like, yes, so let's talk about Last Jedi. So the thing about that is, like, you don't even realize it, how it's not just the framing of it. It's just not where, you know, the characters are, like, blocked. It's not just that Maul reaches out his hand. They're in a literal throne room, as in, like, Snoke's throne room. Mm-hmm. And for an even added measure, the mosaic window is destroyed, and there are literal embers flying around them. As in Last Jedi, when the tapestry of the throne room is being burned and the embers are flying down, it's like, wow. Like, Dave Filoni, do you like The Last Jedi? I mean, that's all I got to say with that, but it was perfect. That scenery was perfect.
And yeah. To add more to it, he's trying to get her to help him.
Like, it almost just makes you, like, smack yourself in the face when, like, oh my god, is Maul the good guy in this story? Because, like, he's trying to, like, kill, and yeah, he has his own selfish reasons for it. He wants revenge. I mean, that's who Maul is. But, like, he basically at the last minute was trying to destroy Palpatine, destroy the Sith, mm-hmm. as, you know, to get his mm-hmm. revenge in some way whatsoever, to deny the, you know, the calamity that is to come. Mm-hmm. What needs to be praised, and you see it all throughout the episode, Sam Witwer's vocal performance as Darth Maul. This may be the best he's done.
Not
the
only
best
that,
work.
This was mocap, and that's all him.
Well, let me do a little bit of it. So the motion capture was with Ray Park. Ray Park is the original actor who portrayed Darth Maul in the movies. He is the physical actor, and Ray Park came in and basically did the fight that you saw in the episode with motion capture, which is why it looked unreal. It's unreal how real it looked. Now, mm-hmm. Sam Witwer is the actor who does the voice of Maul, which is, you know, a different situation. For those who are not aware. And both of those things just came together to give Maul one of the finest performances, because I really did love, especially when he's trying to recruit Ahsoka, like when he says, wait for what, the Republic, the fall, it already has, and you just don't see it. And it just, like, the Republic is already gone. And again, the only people who can't see that are the Jedi.
Yeah.
They're the only ones. Like, it was just an mm-hmm. amazing, like, performance by Sam Witwer that brings that character to life in such a way. Even small touches, like in the beginning when he says Sidious's name, he's like, Darth Sidious, like, he's how terrified he is of him still.
Yeah.
And of course the motion capture was just honestly, it was too much for me to even like fully appreciate in like the initial like time that I saw it. Like going back, like there's so many things that you miss because it's just happening like so fast, right? But like Ahsoka like reaching behind her back and like blocking a blade, and it's like, holy crap! Like this was next level.
Like there was a part that I noticed the first time where like he kind of does like a like he leans over and like tries to hit her with the lightsaber, but he does it twice, like in a row. Like that movement was so like smooth and like cool to see animated. Like you don't see that. Like that's really cool.
I mean, it's so sad, but like if you want lightsaber fights, like that put anything in episode 9 to shame.
Oh, it put the whole movie to shame.
I mean, every aspect of this did, but even that one aspect alone, I think, put that in like
this was literally a Praise the Last Jedi episode. So, no, but yeah, like, I mean, the window shattering, the music in that scene was just literally. I think we kept saying to each other, "The music." It's just, it was so good. And like that whole conversation that in the throne room, because there's like another one also, but that whole also like the cuts that they do to like whenever they start hitting each other and they move over to the people in Mandalore, like oh my god.
Wow. There was this wonderful by the way, this was made to feel like a movie when they go out of their way to insert a Wilhelm scream. You hear it there. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah, because every movie has to have that. Every Star Wars movie has to have that too. But that those scenes, of course, like this is something that J.J. Abrams failed to do in the movies, where they can make the action as invigorating and captivating without lightsabers as they can do with lightsabers. You know? And it was beautiful editing like techniques where it's like there's a blast coming to hit the clones and it looks like Rex gets blown away, but like he covers and like the smoke clears up and he's fine, then more people come and it's like I mean I hope that they're allowed to release a movie version of it, and like there's like maybe, I don't know, extra scenes in there, because like that fight was so like that was a war. And that's a literal war going on with like, it's not just like droids and clones, it's fucking Mandalorians against clone troopers. And like it's interesting because like before the Bo-Katan Mandalorians came into the fight, Maul's people were kind of kicking their ass. Like shit. Like, I mean, Mandalorians are no joke. It's just that their weakness is that they have limited numbers. That's kind of where it all comes back to. And like if we thought that the throne room thing was like, there was no way that they could top that scenery.
I did, before you go. Sorry,
I know.
You go off, I wanted to mention, I love the fact that Ahsoka had agreed to go with Maul.
Yes.
I love that.
Oh, how did I forget that? I'm sorry. I completely glossed over that
know,
moment.
It's too much. It's too much.
Yeah, that was, yes. And I it just felt like an earned moment because the way that, especially how Maul was like framing it, like, and especially considering, you know, Ahsoka's journey throughout this entire series, like he's so convincing when he says everything has led to this moment. And it's like, again, the comparisons, both tools used by greater powers, and again, even more than that, they're both were thrown away by those powers. And
they both believe the same thing. It's just
dark and light,
but it's just different. Like one's more aggressive. And it was like I know why she went back on what she had said. But I also just am so frustrated that she went back just because
she said
he's
yes.
like, I want to kill Anakin. But, like, come on, dude. Like, you totally could have prevented that. Like,
you didn't. I mean, you probably should have known that wouldn't have flown. Like, looking back on the elevator speech and everything. But that really was. She was convinced. She was ready to go and help him. And then, of course, you mentioned Anakin. And considering what she just experienced with Anakin. Mm-hmm. And she knows him.
Yeah.
Like, that's why, like, even if like, you were to say, like, Palpatine is a Sith Lord, she still wouldn't, like, take him at his word, because given what she knows about the Chancellor, by extension of Anakin. So, yeah, it's unfortunate. It really is. But at the same time, I really, though, am curious what, like, the paralleled events that we don't know of. Like, I don't know where this fits into the movie, like this particular, like, Maul and Ahsoka, because what we do know is when Obi-Wan destroys General Grievous, that's the beginning of Order 66. I don't know if, like, we're in the space where he hasn't started fighting General Grievous, or, like, is the fight with Grievous happening at the exact same time that the fight with Maul is happening, at the exact same time that, like, the whole Windu Palpatine? I think that's what's happening. It could be. That's a lot of things, like, panning up.
Because I think in the next episode is Order 66 actually happening, and this one is, like, when Mace Windu. Yeah, makes sense. When that whole thing is happening.
In which case,
because I think that when Ahsoka looks up, I think.
Ooh, there was an ominous tone to that. There was an ominous tone.
I think that's the turn.
Because, like, she looked at it and, like, she looked up in a way kind of like earlier how Maul was looking up about Dooku maybe being killed. She was looking up like something's happening. Something bad's happening right now. It's like, she's like, what is going on right now? Like, you could just feel it. It's insane. It's so fucking insane how all of this is. And I was getting to the part where, like, if we thought that the showdown in the throne room was going to be the highlight, what I liked even more was they were literally on rafters. They were on, like, the roof of the city, and like, balancing. Like, that's not a lot of space to stand on. Like, you're literally walking on, like, nothing. And, like, the scenery of, like, fighting over a city burning, like,
and what's his name when he calls Maul and it's like, we need your help, and he's like, nah, you're on your own.
I laughed so hard when he said, die well, Mandalorian. Have fun dying.
Oh, man.
But I mean, like, it probably, like, came off worse than it should have, because, like, I mean, Mandalorians are all about dying in glory. Like, we just talked about Mandalorian on Red Spotlight. Like, in the last, like, episode, I think, of The Mandalorian season 1, like, the Mando guy was like, let me die in battle or something. Like, I thought that's what they were supposed to, like, look forward to.
Yeah.
So,
but these are, like, traitors, like.
Well, and also Gar Saxon is kind of a coward, I think, like, because we see what happened with Sabine, because, like, Sabine kicked his ass, and then, like, he tried killing her after he was beaten, and then, like, Ursula's like, no, fuck you, you're dead. So, like, Saxon has a history of being kind of like a traitor, because, like, there's a reason why the Empire puts him in power and not Bo-Katan, because Bo-Katan would be like, fuck off, like, to the Empire, and the Empire wouldn't stand for that, so.
Yeah, but that moment when they're on the roof, and I saw, like, a lot of people saying, like, why didn't he just, like, he could have killed her, like, very easily and stuff. But it's like, he wasn't trying to do that, though. Like, even in that last moment, he was like, come with me. Like, I need your help. So he was not trying to kill her. He was just trying to get away, basically.
And also, we should note that, Maul has been diminished slightly since the last we saw, not in Rebels, but in Clone Wars, when he was captured by Darth Sidious. As we saw in Son of Dathomir, he lost his mom. Mother Talzin was killed basically in front of him, and he was humiliated again. He failed to get revenge on Sidious, and he knows that what's about to come is his ultimate failure to do anything about it. Like, he's beyond terrified of what's to come, and like that dream has been kind of a nightmare for him. So
yeah, he's not focused on her.
Not
he's
at all.
Focused on the big picture because he knows what's about to happen, and it's also already too late.
Right. And even then, as far as like the battle himself, like he's unbalanced because of like what's happening, basically.
Yeah.
So, and then also what, however, is consistent with him is ultimately where he lost was being basically tipped over a ledge, which seems to be a theme with him. Because like what happened in the movie where like every time his worst enemy in a duel is arrogance and overconfidence, which is what happened in his initial defeat to Obi-Wan in the movie. And then of course when inevitably Kenobi kills him in Twin Sons in the Rebels episode, he never learns from his mistakes. He always does the exact same moves and he never expects people to pick up on that. In Twilight of the Apprentice, Kanan was able to tip Maul over because Maul got cocky. In this way here, Ahsoka was able to do the exact same thing because Maul just got over presumptuous. So it's like, it's consistent with the character because he is based off that archetype of Sisyphus, the Greek, stuff. As there was we know all that stuff where he never learns from his mistakes. So it's like it was entirely in character, and how this was ultimately going to end.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's also like another, like if you really think about it, it's also kind of another jab to him because Anakin's arrogance and cockiness is what makes him good. And that's his downfall.
Yeah. Literally, almost like downfall as he falls down. And I think my favorite moment though was when the dialogue was just on fire, literally. But like those last lines when he's caught by Ahsoka, like "Let me go, let me die."
Oh yeah.
The Republic ships come, they capture him, screaming, "You're all going to burn.
Dude,
we're
chills.
all going to die."
It's so good. It's so good.
That sent chills down my spine. That was such an amazing delivery. And it adds a bigger punch because, oh yeah, he's right.
Yeah, man. And then also you like said, I don't know if it was like during or after that, like it's gonna hit hard for Ahsoka. Like, oh, like my heart literally breaks for her. And like that moment when she in Twilight of the Apprentice when she finds out, like, man, that hits. Like if that hit hard the first time, like now it's like, damn, dude.
It's crazy. It is so crazy. And then the episode ends, and then we cry because we had to wait another week. Oh my god! I can only imagine how we're gonna feel when this episode ends, and then like we have to wait a few more days just to see the final conclusion. Oh my god!
Oh no.
So, with that, this is some of the best material they've ever done, if not the best. So I think it's been, well worth the wait to get to this point.
Yeah.
And then going into the coming installments, these clones who Ahsoka just fought with, like, are we gonna see? We know we're gonna see Order 66.
Yes.
But are we gonna see the 501st Ahsoka's clones who they've been with the entire series? Are we gonna see them turn on her?
Mm-hmm. Okay, this is what I think is gonna happen. I think that Jesse guy... Okay, I think Maul is gonna start saying something.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Jesse guy is gonna be like, you need to listen to him. Because nobody's gonna listen to Maul. I think that Rex is gonna be like, no, wait, he's right. Like, this is it. Like, this is the thing that I was looking for.
Yeah.
And I think that's when he's gonna... I think he's gonna be the first one to look at that chip thing and be like, oh crap. And then, but like, it's gonna be too late. Not for him, but like for everybody else.
Yeah, because I think we're gonna have to see a moment where he removes his chip, because I would think that Rex and Jesse would be one of the few clones that would be aware of what Fives, the clone trooper who discovered the cover up, but was ultimately, undone by that and executed. They heard what he said, and that's stuck in their minds. And so, if Maul says the same thing, they might think to themselves, "Oh shit, this thing might be real, and we might want to look into that now before the actual order is called," which is practically moments away from what I can imagine this happening. Of course, someone said that Revenge of the Sith takes place across 10 days. Again, of course, it's hard to computate that with Star Wars, because all planets have their different rotations and time, and that's a hard thing to process.
Also, Padme gets a stomach really quickly.
Well, yes, that's true, but I think we're led to assume that was months ago at this point. That and the other Ahsoka episodes were months ago. Because I think I've noticed her, I don't know what they call it, her Lekku or her Ahsoka's, I don't know what you call that part. They're longer here than they were, I think, even in just the other episodes that we saw her with Trace and Rafa. And I think you also got the impression that it's been a while since she was picked up by Bo-Katan, and they've been planning something. Okay. So, and then even longer still was the Bad Batch thing. That was supposed to be, because she was barely showing or anything, so I would assume that was months ago at this point. Yeah. I mean, it's incredible, I'm thankful for the sequel trilogy. Ultimately, I'm a fan of it. I really like The Force Awakens. I love Last Jedi. That makes it all worth it for me. Yeah. Episode 9, this acting that never happened, okay? Basically is how I feel and you feel about that. But we've been very supportive of it, and even still, I don't think we're necessarily sequel trilogy haters, because we're not sequel era haters. I think there's a difference there. I think ultimately Disney and Kathleen Kennedy really fucked up at the end with the trilogy. The era is something that I'd love to get more exploratory stuff into it. I still am a big fan of the sequel era and the trilogy. But that being said,
I think they could totally do what Clone Wars is trying to do.
Exactly. They should pay attention to why people love Clone Wars and try to do more of that with maybe even the original trilogy, or maybe even, post episode 6, because I'm kind of tired of episode 3, episode 4 in between. Post episode 6, or I would love, literally, and I've been saying this for years now, I would love to see the adventures of Luke, Han, and Leia after episode 6, but in Clone Wars style. I think that'd be amazing. Really, because then you get to see a lot of really cool stuff. I think that's the best way of handling it.
Or even when Ben turned into Kylo Ren. Like, that would be...
Right, yeah.
That would be so cool.
Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of stuff. There's always, I think, a lot of ancillary things that you could, explore as far as the universe is concerned. But to the point, like, I bring that up because we have the totality of the sequel trilogy, we have the spin-off movies, and we have The Mandalorian. And yet, Last Jedi notwithstanding, and in some cases Force Awakens, none of those things, I think, came close to the emotion and the power of what the Siege of Mandalore is doing. And it's like a little bit ironic considering like Clone Wars was the first thing that was thrown away when Disney bought Star Wars. So I'm hoping that with the response that this is getting, they acknowledge that. And they see that there's a future for Lucas Animation in particular. Like, you don't have to do just live action Star Wars shows. I know they're doing like a Rogue One TV show or an Obi-Wan TV show, but like, there's something special about Star Wars in animation. And I think this is showing you how you can do that.
Yeah.
So,
because there's just like so much that you can do that is not good translated in movies. It's kind of like that thing with Alice in Wonderland where like the movie had to be animated for it to be good. So I think that kind of goes into Star Wars as well. Like, obviously, it's mainly live action, but there's also just like really cool things that you can't really see.
Right. And of course, you can do a lot of great things with a lot less expensive. A lot less, because like, imagine if this was like if what we got in this episode alone in live action, oh my God, the money. That's the money for a movie, a literal Star Wars movie, which is already so expensive. Someone, I think, threw around the idea. I think it was it was this podcast I was listening to, that whenever theaters open up, if they were to put like the Siege of Mandalore in theaters,
so down.
I think you might even have to drive down here so we can like see it together. I mean, if you have the time, right? But like that would be a moment, because this was kind of made, to be experienced, like all of the Clone Wars episodes, but this is so cinematic in nature, that it would be, oh my God, I could just imagine it. That would be like, wow, this is what episode 9 should have been. Well, at least what it should have made me feel like. Yeah,
totally.
So we're at a point where it's like, we know next episode is going to feature, it's going to be entirely revolved around Order 66. The episode is literally called Shattered.
Yeah. I love the fact that like I could say what I think is gonna happen, but like, and like, it's so weird because we know what's gonna happen, but we don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah. I would have to think that we're gonna have to, I don't know. We can't wait until next Monday to review like everything all at once. So we're gonna have to find some time this week to do another Fantasy Fair to review like the episode Shattered. I don't know if I'm ready.
I know. I want to see it, but I don't want it to end.
Yeah. Which is like what all great finales should be. And it's interesting because 2019, Marvel, not, in consideration, was not the best year for finales. A lot of people were left very cold by a lot of things. But this is proving to be something truly special. And I think ultimately, like, the power of the Siege of Mandalore is the legacy of this series, of the Clone Wars. And it almost just kind of makes me feel like happy for the success that they're having after having gone through a pretty interesting, like you're talking about a show that was on air for like 5 years, canceled, and then it came back like 7 years later. It's so, yeah. It always kind of upset me that why they would cancel it, because, I mean, a lot of the times George Lucas paid for this series with his own money.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently they cost like $1 million to $2 million an episode. So, yeah, and I hope you're enjoying it too, as in the audience is enjoying it. I know Alexis is like really getting excited over it. But yeah, I think we're at a good place to close, unless you had any other thoughts.
No, just excited.
You know what might have made this just a little bit better is if we had gone to Galaxy's Edge.
Oh.
That really would have made this moment feel just much more meaningful. It is meaningful and it is exciting, but like, imagine if we had actually, we were going to, but this fucking COVID-19 thing happened. We would have gone, experienced Galaxy's Edge, and rode Rise of the Resistance.
They have Ahsoka merch there.
Oh,
I totally...
really? Oh my god.
Yeah.
I feel robbed. I literally feel robbed. I'm so pissed. Because we would have already gone.
Yeah.
And we missed it.
Yeah.
And it gets me. Maybe that's why I'm so upset at like so many people just like going to the beach, and I'm like,
yeah.
Well, if that's the case, we're gonna go ahead and close it off there. To remind you, you can listen to the most magical podcast on Earth anywhere you listen to podcasts, whether it be Apple, Spotify, Wooshka, Stitcher, TuneIn, or on YouTube. Fantasy Faire podcasts are actually going to be on YouTube now, or I should say, they're going to, for the first time, going to be made available to go on YouTube, as well as other Red Spotlight podcasts and audio commentaries. If you like more Star Wars content, Fantasy Faire did a lot of Star Wars Once Upon a Retrospects in the lead up to a movie which shall not be mentioned again. And we've got plenty of content coming your way with Fantasy Faire and Red Spotlight. Again, I do want to mention Kyle and hope that you wish him well. He has been very, very demanded, it seems, at work. And so he wishes he could be here, but he can't. And he can't wait to come back. And we certainly can't wait for him to come back as well. And until then, stay magical, stay at home, don't go to the fucking beach, don't listen to your jackass governor, don't get other people sick, don't protest, motherfucker. Bye.